There's baked cheesecakes and then there's no bake cheesecake, and this one I'm making today is a no bake cheesecake. It's what I grew up on, it's my mum's recipe, and I think sometimes I prefer this over the baked cheesecakes because I find them to be a bit overly rich. Plus this one is super simple to put together, and this is how you do it. So first of all we make the biscuit base, and this is an 8-inch, this is a 10-inch, and the 9-inch that I usually use I took to work and accidentally left it there. So today I'm going to use the 8-inch, and all I've done is line the base with a bit of baking paper, and I'm just going to spray the sides lightly with a bit of cooking spray and set that aside. Now the rule I follow for biscuit crusts is basically whatever the weight of the biscuit you're using, use half of that weight in melted butter. The only exception to that rule is if you're using shortbread biscuits because they have a higher butter content. Now you can use a food processor for this, which I probably should have done because these ANZACs are terribly hard. Okay, I'm getting the food processor. Then add the melted butter. So I've got 250 grams worth of biscuits and I've got 125 grams worth of butter. And that will produce a crumb that will stick together. Then press that into the bottom of your tin. I don't have quite enough biscuit crumbs to go up the side, so I'll just leave it as a thickish sort of base. But the base is always yum in a cheesecake anyway. And that just goes into the refrigerator to firm up while I make the filling. The first thing to do is place 2 tablespoons of just room temperature water into a little bowl, and then sprinkle over 1 teaspoon of gelatin powder. When working with gelatin, always put the water in first, then the gelatin. And just give that a little stir and set that aside. Now you'll need 2 packets of Philadelphia cream cheese, or any other brand actually works. So you need 500 grams of cream cheese. Now mine have been out for a few hours and they're super soft, and that's how you want them. If you want to soften this really quickly, just pop the whole packet in warm water, just like eggs. The next ingredient is a can of sweetened condensed milk. And now all you do is you beat this until it's nice and smooth. And if your cream cheese was really soft, that doesn't take long. Then once that's all smooth, add 1/3 cup of lemon juice, which is 85 mils. And green lemons won't work, you have to use ripe lemons for it to set properly. And then add the gelatin mixture and beat this until it's all incorporated. Then get your base out of the fridge and pour the filling into it. Smooth the top, and this now goes in the fridge to set for at least 2 hours. So the cheesecake's been in the fridge for about 2 hours now, and it's starting to set, and now I make the passion fruit topping. I'll let that cool for a little bit, pour it back over the cheesecake, and then leave it overnight in the fridge to properly set up. So you'll need at least 1/3 cup of passion fruit pulp, and I'm using 4 passion fruits today, and I've got actually 1/2 cup, which will also work. I personally think the more passion fruit the better. So for the topping, into a small saucepan, put 2 tablespoons of custard powder and measure a cup of water and just pour a little bit in at the start and stir it around. This custard powder is a bit paler in colour because it's gluten-free. And if you're looking for gluten-free custard powder in Australia, I found one at Woolworths, which is actually Woolworths' own brand. And once that's all dissolved in that little bit of water, add the rest of the cup of water. And you'll also need to measure 1/3 cup of caster sugar and take both of these to the stove. Then over a moderate heat, continuously stir this until it boils and thickens. It won't take long. And once it starts to thicken, then add the 1/3 cup of caster sugar. And I'll leave the gram measurements in the recipe on the website. And once it's lovely and thick and the sugar is dissolved, so just a minute more, remove it from the heat and stir in the passion fruit pulp. Oh, it smells beautiful, that passion fruit. The last thing to do is measure 2 tablespoons of water, sprinkle over a teaspoon of gelatin. This is a 1/2 teaspoon measurement. And then stir this gelatin mixture into the passion fruit mixture. And that'll give it a lovely little jelly-like appearance. And that's the topping done. Now I'll just wait for that to cool down a little bit before I put it on top of the cheesecake, about 15 minutes or so. So the cheesecake's been in the fridge for 2 hours and it's starting to firm up. But I'm going to leave it in the fridge overnight because it is a no-bake cheesecake. And this has been cooling the passion fruit topping for about 15 minutes. And that goes on top. So I just cover it and put it back in the fridge until tomorrow. And I think actually the 8-inch tin worked really well. It's nice and high. So it's the next day and the moment of truth. So what I do first is just loosen the side and then just loosen the top a little, or just run a knife around the outside. Release the latch fully. So I actually filmed this and I didn't have my microphone on, but it's much easier to cut if you can put it on a board, and it's easier to if you get under the paper after you take out the first slice of the cheesecake, and then you can cut it into smaller slices, whatever you wish. Now this will last 5 or perhaps even 6 days in the fridge, and it firms up even better after that, but it is already holding its shape beautifully. And it's really delicious. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you again soon.